16th. Come to order. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of the committee, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, please note that in the minutes. We will now turn to our planner to give us the purpose for this meeting. Per, good afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee of Adjustment is holding a public hearing in accordance to Section 45 of the Planning Act in order to consider 4 applications today for relief from bylaw 2009-021 being the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the Township of Selwyn. The prescribed notice of public hearing was provided via prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 60-meter radius of the property subject to the applications, as well as by a sign posted on the subject lands. The notices were also available on the Township's website. The notice circulation complies with the requirements of the planning. If a person or public body would otherwise have the ability to appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Sullivan, but does not make oral submissions at a public hearing or make written submissions to the Committee of Adjustment before the committee gives or refuses to give approval to the application, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or hearing or make written submissions to the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn in respect of the proposed variances before the committee gives or refuses to give approval to the applications, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless in the opinion of the tribunal there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment, you must make written request to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment before providing Committee of Adjustment, providing your name and address or email address. Our first application today is A10-24. This is for 2420 Upper Chemong Drive in the Smith Ward. The application is to permit a roughly 600 square foot 2-story dwelling addition, including a 40 square foot covered rear deck and a 70 square foot covered front porch. The variance required is to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 8.1 meters to a covered rear deck. You'll note that in my report, I had another variance in there, but there's been a few iterations of this plan, so I'm scrapping one. We only really need the one variance. We have comments of no concern from Bell. The Conservation Authority has stated permits will be required. That's a condition of the approval. The Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board has provided comments of no concern, and County Public Works has also provided comments of no concern. I find that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, and I do recommend the application for approval.
Thank you. I understand that the agent Tony Yu is on the line. Is that correct, Deputy Clerk?
Hi, good afternoon, Ms. Chair and every committee members. I'm Tony Yu. I would be the applicant today on behalf of the owner for 2420 Upper Chemong Drive.
Okay, there's nothing you wish to add to what our planner has reported?
Well, I just want to reiterate that all the conditions will be provided for this subject application, and we will provide the proper design to comply all the requirements that the local conservation department required, or the septic expansion maybe have some specific requirement. We also will investigate to provide the proper addition design for this purpose.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Deputy Clerk, is there any other people that are in opposition or in favor of this application?
We have no one else here for this application, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to A13-24, please, Per.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A13-24, this is for 1530 Westview Crescent. The application in this case is for a redevelopment of the subject lands with a roughly 3,600 square foot single detached dwelling, including an 839 square foot open deck, a 537 square foot attached garage, as well as a 226 square foot second story balcony and a 661 square foot boathouse. The variances requested are to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 23 meters to an open deck, to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 27.7 meters to a dwelling, to reduce the side yard setback from 5 meters to 1.67 meters to a boathouse, and to increase the maximum lot coverage of all buildings and structures from 20 to 28%. We have comments of no concern from Bell, the Fourth of Pine Ridge District School Board, and the County Public Works Department. Orca is requiring permits at building permit stage, and this is a condition of the variance. I find that the application meets the 4 tests of the minor variance, and I recommend this application for approval.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here that is in favor of this application? You're the applicant. Is there anything that you wish to add to the report we've received from our planner?
No, nothing, just, trying to get like, family home
Mhm.
and future and, recovery. So it's not entirely allowed to development. That's that from the high water mark, it's 27 years, so it's not quite 30 years, but it's that far back that it's not usually.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Clerk, is there anyone who is in favor or against this application?
We have no one here virtually to speak to this
All
application.
right, thank you. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions on this? Deputy Mayor, Committee Member Black.
To you, Chair. Yeah, just for clarification, there is an existing, building there, and we're not really getting closer to the history of urban existing.
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct. There's no further encroachment.
So the only addition of
So, yeah, through you, Madam Chair, the boathouse is a permitted structure within the 30-meter setback and doesn't need relief from the 30-meter setback. So yeah, the boathouse is new from what I understand from the applicant. We are including that in the variance at this point, just because he wanted to reduce the side yard setback, but it may not be a structure that's immediately applied for building permit.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to A1424.
Sorry, Madam
Sure.
Chair. Just a reminder to council to turn on your mics when you, that's okay. Just a reminder.
Okay. We'll move on to A1424, Pear.
Chair. A14-24. This is for 3129 Fire Route 19 in the Smith Ward. The application is to permit a 672 square foot attached garage addition to an existing dwelling. This one is, so yep, this is the one that's on the roadside. However, because it's within the 30-meter, we have to do the 30-meter setback reduction, right? So the variance is to reduce the high water setback from 30 meters to 15.24 meters to an existing dwelling. Again, we have comments of no concern from Bell, the Fourth of Pine Ridge District School Board, and the County Public Works Department. The Conservation Authority has no concern. However, they are recommending that the approval authority, being the township, ensure that grading and slopes or stabilization be looked at building permit stage. So this is included as a condition in the variance. An archaeological assessment has been completed for this project already and no artifacts were found. I do find that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, and I do recommend this application for approval.
Thank you very much. I understand the agent, Barbara Waldron, is on the line. Do you have anything you wish to add to the report we received from the planner?
Through you, Madam Chair, excuse me, not too much more detail. I was going to mention the archaeology was done in great detail and it was done in consultation with Curve Lake. And we did put the garage behind the cottage to keep it as far away from the water as possible. And I was aware of the ORCA requirements. There'd be a septic review as part of the building permit process, I believe, as well. So we're prepared to do that. And I just want to thank Pear for his assistance through the application process because I found it a little bit challenging. And thank you to council for your consideration of this application.
Thank you very much. Deputy Clerk, is there anyone else that's in favor or against this application?
We have no one else virtually here for this application.
Thank you. I would bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to A 1534, please.
A 1530, or sorry, A 15-24, 34 would be 10 years ahead, I guess.
Oh, I need glasses. 20.
Yeah, yeah. So this is for 283 Arnott Drive in the Ennismore Ward. The application is to permit a roughly 500 square foot attached garage addition, 214 square foot covered front porch addition, a 252 square foot dwelling addition, and a 150 square foot open deck extension to an existing dwelling. The variances requested are to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 19 meters to an open deck extension, to increase the maximum lot coverage of all buildings and structures from 20 to 25%, to decrease the minimum front yard setback from 7.5 meters to 7.37 meters to a dwelling addition, and to decrease the minimum front yard setback from 7.5 meters to 6.31 meters to a garage addition to an existing dwelling. For this one, we have comments of no concern from Bell, the Conservation Authority, Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board, and the County Public Works Department. And again, I find that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, and I do recommend this application for approval.
Thank you very much. And I understand that the owner, Kendra Burgomaster, is in the audience. Is there anything you wish to add to this report that we received from the planner? No. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that had registered to oppose or be in favor?
We have no one else here for this application, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I will be looking for a motion to receive, approve these applications. Moved by Deputy Mayor Black, Committee Member Black and Committee Member Clueless. All in favor? That is approved. Thank you. Turn off the phone. There are no deferred matters or correspondence. Our minutes of June the 25th, 2024 are before us. I need someone to approve them. Member Coulis and Member Henry, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you very much. And a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is August 13th. Member Henry and Member Black, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you. All right, and our council meeting will start in 7 minutes. But Ross.
Lake Vegas.
Good afternoon. This regular council meeting for the Township of Selwyn for Tuesday, July the 16th, 2024 will come to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Please observe a moment of silence so the council staff and members of the public can quietly reflect on our duty to the community that we are trying to serve. Thank you. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of council, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, please note that. We have the minutes of June the 17th and June the 25th before us. Can I have someone please move them? Moved by Councillor Boyko, seconded by Councillor Koulis. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion out of the minutes? Seeing none. Our deputation is coming to us online. We have Monteith Brown Planning Consultants, and we are going to be receiving a presentation on our recreation and strategic plan. Hello.
Good afternoon, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Excellent. And my name is Anand Desai, associate with Monteith Brown Planning Consultants. Joining me from the firm today is also Jamie Hudema. We have a brief presentation for Council today in terms of an update regarding what we've heard through the initial consultation phases in support of the Township of Selwyn strategic plan update, as well as the recreation services plan. So I do have a presentation. I am just going to share my screen. If somebody can please confirm verbally that you can see my screen.
We can.
Thank you very much, Mayor Senes. So really, this update to council is really to let you know what we've heard to date. The plans are not in a stage yet where we have begun to undertake any assessments, nor have we formed any recommendations. Really, the purpose of today is to inform council about what the community has told us thus far in terms of some of their wants, their priorities, barriers, and other general feedback. Again, as a reminder, the strategic plan was last prepared in 2018, largely that document that you as council used to help with your broad decision-making corporately. And so we are going through that process of updating the strategic plan, usually, with new terms of council. These documents tend to be updated. The recreation services plan is being updated. Largely, it is a document that is over 10 years old, and yourselves and your staff, along with your community, have made good progress in updating the 2011 recreation services plan to chart a course forward for the next 10 years, reflective of Selwyn today and what we know or anticipate Selwyn to become in the future. Both plans, the recreational trails plan, which was prepared in 2014. Those assessments will be rolled into this iteration of the recreation services plan, again, to reflect the state of Selwyn today and moving forward. In terms of work that has been completed to date, and largely will form the basis of today's presentation will be the feedback that we have received through community and staff feedback forms, public open house that was held in May, and then shortly thereafter, a couple of community workshops with representatives of local organizations. We've done interviews with stakeholders, and today is that update. Ahead in over the next 6 to 8 weeks is going to be the assessments and analysis that support the preparation of the draft strategic plan. We will come back to council with a presentation that provides an overview of what those draft plans contain. We will then open it up following your feedback to the broader public for a commenting period, schedule another public open house, and then with that feedback in mind, we will be in a position to present the final plans to yourselves. So, we've had, I think, pretty good success in terms of at least reaching or making people aware of the two plans. Using the Speak Up Selwyn platform, your consultation process, along with a host of other advertising and awareness activities. I think we've seen good turnout both on the website, to the public open houses, as well as participation in the surveys and the workshops. So the following on your screen really articulates the activities that we've held to date. What I didn't note before was the presentations to various advisory committees as well. And then some written feedback has also been submitted and reviewed. So the next few slides really articulate what we've heard through some of the consultation activities to date. The open house, I believe, was May 29th, and it was held at the municipal offices. We had a lot of folks come out, provide their thoughts verbally to all of us in attendance, as well as written comments where they used sticky notes. There were feedback forms. There were maps rolled out. So, a lot of good feedback there that was received and much appreciated from the folks that came out and participated. What we heard through that open house, really in terms of themes, people just love the sense of community, that small town atmosphere, your natural surroundings in Selwyn, really impressing upon us how important your base of volunteers are to the community. Certainly, as we'll get on to through the rest of the presentation, some challenges around just volunteerism, reflecting national, provincial trends. What we also heard at the open house was an emphasis on parks and open spaces. People were looking for additional parkland. They were looking for trees and plantings in urban areas, expansion of trails and boardwalks, recognizing again the beauty and the value of the waterfront, the lakefront, as well as beach areas. Lakefield South, was mentioned not only just in terms of parks and open spaces, but transportation and mobility, recreational infrastructure, just growth across the township. People were saying we need to, find ways to keep pace with that growth, whether that's through modernizing and renewing existing infrastructure, development potentially of new forms of infrastructure, keeping up with maintenance, improved signage and wayfinding. And again, from a transportation and a mobility standpoint, finding ways to manage and mitigate traffic and congestion, potentially through expansion of your active transportation network. From the feedback form, now again, the results of the feedback form, it was a voluntary survey, so self-directed, so it cannot be considered statistically significant of your or representative of your population, but it did again provide good insights taken in conjunction with feedback from other engagement activities. It offers an insight into what some of those needs of the 177 or so mod folks that participated in that feedback form, along with them speaking on behalf of the people in their households. But what we heard from them was a lot of participation in activities that one can do on their own time. So, using trails, attending events, walking the dog, getting out, enjoying nature. It was encouraging to hear that in terms of barriers to participation, almost, well, almost 30% said nothing stops them from being able to be active or participate in recreational activities as often as they would like. But among those that did report, having some sort of barriers, the top barriers really were having a lack of facilities or programs locally, or a lack of time, though those were commonly cited and is consistent with barriers that we hear in other communities as well. We did ask them about, how they would rate importance and satisfaction with various areas of the parks, trails, and recreational system. So you can see highest importance ratings were placed on natural areas and trails, but again, from an indoor recreational standpoint, outdoor recreation, and just programs in general, all had high importance ratings. You can see on the right side, satisfaction ratings were greatest for the trails and pathways, which was excellent to see. Outdoor recreation facilities, received the lowest ratings, but these are things that we will again explore in the weeks ahead in terms of an analysis. Public has provided us with some really good points of departure. And in terms of some of those requests for space and spending, as you can see on your screen there, the highest or top requests really were for outdoor areas or age-specific areas, being parks, open spaces, and trails, but also spaces for youth, spaces for seniors, playgrounds or spaces for children. On the right side of your page, again, few more top 10 requests rounding out the spectrum. In terms of the community groups, I believe we met with I think it was, at least a dozen of those representatives of organizations, user groups that deliver recreational services, volunteers, service clubs. And they all participated in giving us feedback, both on the strategic plan as well as the recreation services plan. They echoed a number of the themes that we heard from the open house and the surveys around growth, increasing awareness, equity, diversity, inclusion, recognizing the changing nature and a need to engage as many people as possible, support for volunteers, and then we heard for, again, so some demands for new community space, more parkland areas to bring the community together. In terms of township staff feedback, again, we also engaged township staff as part of this, and there was general agreement with the strategic plans, vision, mission, and values. Staff also echoed what some of the community was saying to us in terms of aging infrastructure, keeping pace with growth, keeping pace from a service level and maintenance standpoint, continuing to be fiscally responsible, as well as overarching goals around economic development, tourism, environmental sustainability, and again, just planning to make sure that there are the appropriate staff in place as the township moves forward. So really, to conclude the presentation, where we go from here is to take what we've heard with the feedback, any feedback from council today, if there is any, and initiate the preparation of both the strategic plan and the recreation services plan, as I said, with the intention of coming back to you in the early fall with an update and an opportunity to provide comment on those draft plans, going back out to the public with those drafts so that we're in a position to finalize the two plans and come back to you kind of in the October timeframe, I believe is what we are targeting at the moment. So thank you very much for indulging myself and Jamie. If there's any questions, comments that you'd like to provide through you, Mayor Senes, we would be pleased to take that now.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Anand. Are there any questions that anyone has? Councillor Coles.
Through you. Thanks for the presentation. I'm wondering if you can clarify which community groups provided input. Because I'm curious if there's a gap or any one missing, and if there's time to still provide input.
Yeah, there was a report, I think, appended to the agenda, but so if you look at page 18, you'll see the full list, but I can read it out. We had community care from both Ennismore and Lakefield participate. We had a number of arena groups, including Ennismore Minor Hockey, the Lakefield College School. I'm just pulling up that page. We had Friday night men's 3 pitch, Lakefield Horticultural Society, Lakefield Jazz Art and Craft Festival, ladies hockey, Lakefield Minor Hockey, Lakefield Skating Club, the Smith Ennismore Lakefield Historical Society, Thursday Pickup Hockey, and the Peterborough and Kawarthas Chamber of Commerce. I know the list was extended to others, so there may have been groups that were invited but just weren't able to participate. But they were included, I believe, the discussion guide, so they had an opportunity. And if there are any groups, counselors, that again, maybe they just, the email didn't get through, but we're still happy to take their feedback if you'd like to have them get in touch with ourselves.
Thank you. Yeah, I do see the consultation summary and I did look at it, but so my question now is there specific means for them to provide input? Like, would you provide it via email, or I'm just wondering if there's a specific format you require for them?
Yeah, I think email is probably the best way. And again, if we'll take input right till the very end, but certainly if they're able to provide input in the next 2 to 3 weeks, anybody, that's really an ideal time. As we start our assessments, we can consider their feedback from the start. But as I mentioned, email or getting in touch with any staff at the township. If they drop in to chat with recreation staff, township staff, I'm sure you'll be able to, or through Angela Chittick, we'll be able to direct them to the appropriate staff person, which in turn will get that feedback relayed over to us.
Through you again. And then just to clarify, for anyone else who just hasn't had a chance to participate, like we're having the Shamrock Festival this weekend, and I can see a number of people and there's groups there who could have the opportunity to participate. So are you still accepting via a survey, or again, is email the best way?
Yeah, I think email is probably the best way for folks that aren't comfortable with technology, written submissions directed to the municipal offices. As long as it's clear that the feedback in the RE line is, for the strategic plan or the recreation services plan. Speak Up Selwyn continues to be our project portal, for that webpage. So I would encourage folks, again, that have access to technology or comfort using it, that's probably a great way from this point forward. The feedback forums just with the project timelines have been closed. But also, again, impressing upon folks that we will have additional in-person and perhaps another, slightly pared back feedback form once the draft plans are done. That way people can let us know, what they like about plans, what they might have expected to see. But again, that is more down the road if they want more feedback considered in the short term. Email, letters, or dialogue with township staff is probably the best.
Okay, thanks. I'll chat with Stat and we'll probably get back to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor Black.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Senes. Thanks for the presentation. Lots of great information and a lot of great detail in the addendum report. Of the top 5 most important issues to residents, it was walking on unpaved and paved surfaces, and the walkability of the municipality obviously is a priority for many people. And the challenge with walking on trails is they're not managed for a portion of the year, and it forces people onto roads to do those things or find different routes, I guess, on surfaces that are maintained. What's your experience from other municipalities who've kind of run into this situation where we have a great trail network, and I recognize that a lot of the rural trails would not be able to maintain them. But trails that run through urban centers, what's your experience with how municipalities have handled managing those trails so they are 365 trails for people in a safe environment?
I mean, the key word I think Madam Mayor, is the word management, and it starts with documents like this where we will revisit and renew the trails hierarchy, where we have certain orders of or classifications of trails. Some may be paved, some may be more naturally surfaced, some maybe form part of a major spine, others might be ancillary types of trails. And so having that management framework in place will help you as council and township staff to understand that hierarchy of the trail system, where resources, should be prioritized or directed, whether seasonally or throughout the year. I think it's important to also remember that trails are part of a broader active transportation system. And so how to do some of these linkages connect to sidewalks, on or off-road bicycle paths. How do they kind of interface with key community destinations, from a recreational perspective, but also a day-to-day kind of just life perspective? Can we connect to a grocery store or, in a downtown? So, I mean, the experience is varied across municipalities, but I think, to help set priorities, one defines that frameworks, in terms of the classification, and then you as council and staff can work to determine kind of how you resource things like development, maintenance, renewal for those various paths.
I'll follow up. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that. The challenge with a lot of the municipality is the roads were constructed 100 years ago, not for the purpose of bikes or walking. And so that's a huge challenge. And, staff is coming up with a sidewalk policy for us that we haven't had in the past that will certainly help identify those routes that need to have those improvements for safety. So are those the types of recommendations that will come from your review, your plan?
Yeah, our report will largely focus, just as what was done in 2014. It'll conceptualize a trails network. It won't get into the granular details in terms of, there will be other follow-up work. We'll need to, use a township. Once you have this conceptual network in place, is the topography conducive to running a trail through? Who owns the land? There's a number of considerations there, but our scope of work largely focuses on recreational trails. So recommendations around sidewalks, on-road infrastructure, that would be typically contained in a transportation master plan or a broader active transportation master plan. But we are looking at those kind of recreational trails, and I think that will, as it has in the past, help inform some of those trail routing.
Thank you.
Councillor Boyko.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sanis. Thank you for this presentation and report. I found it fascinating. When I'm looking at reports such as this, and I try not to be overwhelmed by all of the detailed lists of things that we need to consider, I try to look at linkages and broad themes. And the two broad themes that I found, and I want to get your comment on this, and seem to be the two biggest challenges that we will see looking forward, both challenges and opportunities for us, are climate change that is mentioned in the report in a number of different ways without saying climate change, excuse me, and Lakefield South, which again was through a number of things in the report without clearly mentioning Lakefield South. For example, when it talked about small town, we like the small town atmosphere. We need more parkland, trails, open space, keeping pace with growth and more. So let me ask specifically about Lakefield South. We'll leave climate change for now. And I bring Lakefield South up because I was happy to be part of an information meeting that Triple T presented recently, last week or the week before. And about 50 people were on it, and they raised a number of concerns. And I was, and I thought very articulate, well thought out, well researched questions, and many of those questions and concerns are in your report. And so, I guess my question is, if you're willing to comment now on your thoughts regarding how Lakefield South will inform our future and will inform our strategic plan, and whether your report will be making those linkages of all the disparate ideas that aren't really disparate because they are linked thematically. So specifically Lakefield South, and then the nature in which your report is going to be written.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. I think it's encouraging to hear that some of the themes that were expressed through the strategic plan, through the recreation services plan, consultations are consistent with some of the other consultations that you are kind of carrying out, whether it's with land development partners or maybe even other studies. So, it's always good to hear that consistency in terms of the feedback. With respect to Lakefield South, we'd be remiss if we didn't think about it, because, there is a lot of growth that council is contemplating directing to that area, through the draft plans of subdivision that have either been submitted or approved. And so, just as with any area that is, growing across Selwyn, we want to think about that prevailing theme of keeping pace, with the growth, whether it's in Lakefield South or another part of your municipality. I think, again, with respect to, Lakefield as a whole, or, any of the hamlets, any of the other major settlements, part of keeping pace is also, again, that topic of existing infrastructure. So I think we want to make sure that infrastructure that you have in place is optimally being used, or there are opportunities to, I guess, make sure that infrastructure continues to exist and be used over the foreseeable future, and take those considerations in tandem with anything, that is new. But certainly where there, is development happening, where there isn't development, or, at present, we need to think about, we need to think about that.
Excellent. Thank you. Just to follow up, just a comment. Yeah, as I look around at that, the staff and their various responsibilities in their various areas, each one of them will be touched. Each one of them will be touched, and decisions will have to be made informed by the Lakefield South development, guaranteed. So I'm happy that it's going to be an intricate part of the strategic plan report for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? And I just want to make sure that council is mindful that this is a strategic plan for the township. Although we are going to have work done in Lakefield South, there's going to be a lot of growth. This is for the entire township, as is the recreation services plan. So I need someone to please make a motion to receive Councillor Henry and Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. We have 4 minutes before we begin our public meeting. Are there any questions that have been brought forward, Madam Clerk?
No questions.
Do you have a question, ma'am?
Actually, no, I've got an invitation.
Okay, yeah. This is really for any questions that are being posed. Can you do it in the form of a question? Can you go to the microphone and give us your name and address?
My name's Nancy Turner, and I'm part of Jude's Joy, the accessible, inclusive playground project that we're doing at Ennismore Waterfront Park. And can I hand out an invitation to each one here this afternoon, inviting people to an event that we're using our waterfront park for, a public awareness event supported by the United Way. And so I felt all of you should be included in the invitation. So
okay, can you give us the details of the invitation? Then you can give it to the clerk and she will make sure we all get it.
Okay. I just thought at this point it's August the 9th. So that would give enough time to put this on your calendar, perhaps.
Okay.
And it's in the evening. We have the park booked for 6 to 8 o'clock in the evening. And we're going to invite 5 counties, families, and staff. We're going to invite the Alzheimer's Society and perhaps a Special Olympics. And the communities of Lakefield, Bridge North, and Ennismore through this invitation, doing a mailing. And we're going to have a public awareness session, letting people know what's going on and what this is all about, as well as ice cream, a musician that serves, there, I got you there. Yeah. I'll remember that. And so we're going to inform the community with this event and make it the target audience be the disabled and their families. And so it's a We've been given this money. We were turned down for the initial grant that we applied for United Way.
Mhm.
And they came back to say, we were so excited about this project. We want to give you access to that money anyway, but for a public awareness event. So it's a big weekend with Bridge North 200th anniversary and the triathlon there. But yeah, so that's what it's about. And I'm just here to ask that question.
Okay, so if you can give one of the copies to our Lakefield Herald, so she has the information, and the rest to our clerk, and she'll make sure that we get them. And when you're passing them out, you did mention some of our hamlets, but don't forget Young's Point and Buckhorn as well. They are part of our township.
You know what? Thank you, because I've gone to the post office and found out how many homes are involved in each of those designations. We're choosing not to go to the Examiner or to checks because we don't want that. We can't handle that capacity at that park. So we're hoping for 100, 150 residents in the area and families that this serves.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you very much. All right, we are right on for the beginning of the public meeting for part lot 28 concession 742 Caroline Street in Lakefield. And I would ask the planner to announce the purpose for the meeting, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Council of Township of Selwyn is holding a public meeting in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act in order to consider one application today for zoning amendment. The prescribed notice of public meeting was provided via prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 120-meter radius of the property subject to the application, as well as by a sign posted on the property. The notice was also available on the just on the township website. The notice circulation complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. If a person or public body would otherwise have the ability to appeal the decision of the Council of Township of Selwyn, but does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Selwyn in respect to the zoning bylaw amendment before the approval authority gives or refuses to give approval to the zoning amendment, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision to Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of Township of Selwyn in respect of the proposed zoning amendment before the approval authority gives or refuses to give approval to the zoning amendment, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, unless in the opinion of the tribunal there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Council of the Township of Selwyn in respect to the proposed amendment, you must make written requests to the Township of Selwyn before providing your name, address, or email address. So the application today, as stated, Your Worship, is for 42 Caroline Street. This is a zoning amendment related to a consent application that's been given provisional consent by the County of Peterborough through County File number B 135-22. The zoning amendment is just addressing a lot area deficiency with regard to the severed parcel and some deficiencies regarding the R1 zone regulations for setbacks and lot coverage on the severed parcel. The severed parcel is actually the parcel that's going to have the existing dwelling on it, and the retained parcel is a development lot, future development lot for the property owner. To my understanding, it's going to be their sort of retirement home. There's no firm development plans for this vacant lot as of yet. I do find that the application conforms with the growth plan for the Golden Horseshoe is consistent with the provincial policy statement and also conforms with the official plan. Comments of no concern have been received from Bell Canada, County Public Works, Enbridge, the Heritage Committee, and the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority also has no concern. A neighbor in the area, I believe the next door neighbor, although the address wasn't provided in his comments, he didn't oppose or state he's in favor of the application. He just has some concerns. Specifically, he just had concerns over what the future dimensions of the building would be, what the setbacks of the new building would be, and sight lines at the corner at the intersection. In my response to Mr. Unger, I outlined that obviously at building permit stage, we would address zoning compliance issues. Variances may be needed at that point when there's some firm building plans and there is a daylight triangle requirement in our zoning bylaw to preserve sightlines at an intersection. Having said all that, I do recommend the zoning amendment for approval, and if there's any further questions, I can take.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, is there anyone who has registered to be in favor or opposed to this application?
No, no one is registered.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Is there any question? Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Senes. Just as, I mean, this kind of severance situation, I think is going to happen more often because of the need for housing. What is the lot coverage allowed on that? Because that's again, a fairly small lot. What would the lot coverage percent be allowed in the urban center R1?
So through your worship, so the lot coverage for an R1 in town is 30%. The proposed, and just in my rough calculations for being the reduced lot size, going from, not quite having the lot, but it's at about 32% roughly for the existing dwelling. So not a huge increase, of course, right? But yeah, 30% is the R1.
So what's, again, the math is all in metric here. How big of a house would you be able to put on that square footage? Any
on the vacant parcel? Yeah, I haven't done any calculations. So 422 square meters times 30%. Robert's got a calculator.
Robert?
Just an idea. I mean, we're going to be creating smaller lots, but
422 times 30, or times 30%. And then
you can get back to me on that. Just,
Yeah.
we're creating these lots and
yeah,
I think people need to understand that.
yeah. So what's that in square feet roughly? 120 26 square feet or square meters, which is 1,300 square feet.
So a small bungalow could go on that lot still and still be
Just right.
fit into the community.
Through your worship too, also in comparison, I did look around the town or specifically Lakefield to see if we have any comparables around that size or smaller. I did find one on Nelson Street that's just over 300 square meter lot. And it has, according to NPAC, now this is both stories, but it had a
Yeah.
roughly an 1,100 square foot home on it. So
Yeah.
it is a smaller home.
Yeah.
That's
fine,
but
too.
certainly developable based on the fact that it is municipal services. If it was septic and well, there'd be issues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I guess a longer term concern around the lot being created and then coming back and say, I want 40% lot coverage, and now you've got a massive home that's obstructing views and closer to the road and those sorts of things. So as long as we're cognizant of that when we're creating these lots, I think that's it's definitely something that's going to have to happen moving forward if we want affordable housing. Thank you.
Any other questions for Pierre? If not, I'm looking for someone to move the recommendations that's before us. Councillor Boyko, Councillor Henry, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on now to report from our CAO, Janice Laval.
Thank you. So again, we have our quarterly reports for council this afternoon. So the managers have updated each of the quarterly reports to give you a sense of where we're at with things as of June 30th. I did note in the report, and I would just like to make note that certainly it's been a very busy first couple of quarters, and we have been having lots of challenges, some difficult recruitments. We've got a number of staff leaves that we're dealing with. So that's making it very challenging for staff to get things done. And I really just would like to take the opportunity to commend and transition of new services into departments. So I just want to take the opportunity to acknowledge the work that's being done by all of our managers to keep the proverbial wheels on the bus as we're dealing with all of these challenges. And you will note that some items have been put on hold or are taking longer than expected. And that is the reason why, for the most part.
Okay, thank you very much. So what I'm going to do is take them by department. So our first one is the Chief Administrative Officer. Are there any questions with regards to that? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Building and Planning Department, and we have added a thing on the short-term rental complaints form to that report. Are there any questions? Councillor Poulos.
Thank you, through you. I just want to clarify that like sewage isn't on here. And that, would that be counted in the Q2 report as well? Like sewage compliance? So complaints against sewage issues.
Are you
on-
talking about short-term
for the-
rental?
Yeah, for the short-term
complaints?
rental complaints.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
clarify
So
that.
if there were complaints around the septic system of a short-term rental property,
Yeah.
then it would be included in the complaint numbers that are there.
Okay, it does, just says at the bottom, complaints may include for dogs at large and noise, and I've been told that there's complaints related to sewage. So I just want to clarify if it's in there or not. And because I don't know if they were queued like Q2. or not.
Right.
Robert?
Yes, through you, Mayor Sanis. So the complaints that we did receive, the list of violations listed on that report just reflect ones that are confirmed violations. There was no complaints due to breakout or sewage systems failing.
Thank you.
All right, Deputy Mayor Black?
Thank you, through Mayor Senes. Just to start, actually, I want to compliment Rob on how he handled the recent incident with the resident that called me, and I know you're short-staffed, but you jumped in and took care of it, and I got a call back from the resident saying how great it was that thing was resolved quickly, and we could move on with the project. So congrats, even when, I understand there's an issue with some staffing right now, but that's the good news you like to hear for sure. So thank you for that. A couple of questions on the statistics. The first one is permits submitted versus permits issued. We're at about 60% issued. Did I read this backwards? Sorry.
Way down.
Yeah, so last year, year 23, we were at about 80% at this time issued versus submitted, and we're at about 60% issued versus submitted. Is that to do with staffing and that sort of thing? Are we lagging in getting permits out?
Through you, Mayor Senis. So you will see a bit of a dip in the next quarter for our KPI stats because there has been some delays, particularly in the last month, getting permits issued. A lot of that delay is permits that have come in that are in deficiency. Quite a few of them are with our third-party plans examination firm. But if they may have achieved complete application, but they don't have all the necessary information contained within their documentation. So they're working through that with proponents that are looking to get projects underway.
Okay, thank you. The other question was with respect to development fees from the county. Considerable difference year over year. And as of this second quarter, we're at 138,000 versus second quarter 23 was 33,000. And so significant difference in development fees. Let us know kind of where that comes from.
Yes, through you, Mayor Senis, the Lilac Development has applied for a number of their townhouse units that replaced, if you recall, the planning applications that came through to replace the apartment buildings. So that a large amount of those fees are related to that townhouse development.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Significant amount of dollars involved there.
Yep.
Sure. Thank you.
Councillor Boyko?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I'm looking at the bylaw development and review, and I think, Janice, you may have asked this question, but I just want to be clear. I'm looking at the parking bylaws to develop parking regulations to address chronic parking issues and review existing regulations to modernize the fines and rates. I know parking is an issue that I've raised with members of staff that I'm going to having a meeting later on this week, hopefully. It says the task is on hold pending further information or direction. Is staff looking for more direction from council, or perhaps you could explain why this specific parking bylaw review is on hold?
Janice?
Yeah, so I think that's just one of those areas. That's a really big project and it involves a number of staff members, and we're just finding that we're not in a position to get to that big project.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for building and planning? We will move on to corporate and community services, clerk's department. Any questions? Councillor Kulis.
Through you, thanks. And I'm going to apologize because I didn't get a chance to ask staff about this previous to the meeting and because it came to me this morning, but under the community and corporate services and later in parks and recreation, we reference working with Fleming College students specific to environmental programs. With a number of those programs likely to be cut, what are the impacts for us?
Yeah, so we identify anything specifically that we might need assistance with, and we'll reach out to Fleming College to see if a program can help with that. So it kind of works from us to them. So it's, I guess to answer your question, at this point, nothing, because we'll reach out, and if a program has been canceled, then obviously that will have an impact.
Follow. Is it, they help offset like staff time, correct? In regards to the environmental management of trails and such?
No, we had that
Sorry, not under-
environmental.
I'm thinking recreation. I'm jumping ahead.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I'm sorry.
quiet.
It's connected.
back
I
to
can
question.
wait. It's, yeah,
Okay.
but it's just, they're just connected on like, it's gonna be the same question, so.
All right, there any other questions for Angie on corporate and community services? None, we'll move on to financial services. Any questions there? I actually have a question, Lean. I'm just wondering how things are going with the transition with the water and sewer billing. Everything seemed to be settling down.
That's it. Through you, Madam Mayor, it's good. That's a good question. We actually have some staffing resources issues right now with that. So things are going well in terms of billing. Billings are going out on time. Ratepayers are used to the new system and the new process. But it's challenging for sure to add that service just with the resourcing how we have it right now.
Okay, thank you. Any other no questions? Right, we'll move on to the fire department. Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Senes, for the chief, looking at statistics, looks like the call volume's down about 50 over the year, and wonder if you can comment on the new call system having an impact there for you?
Through you, Mayor Senes? Yes. It's nice when you can go to bed and not get waken up like 3 and 4 times a night. So it is definitely working. I think one thing we may have to work on is the Village of Lakefield with we put that 15-minute limit in. Yes and no, we're going to the right calls, but really, again, do we need to go to some of them? So I think that's just kind of follow up that we need to keep up with them. So, but definitely working. Yeah. So Tonby's finding the same thing. So I think now that we've got some numbers to show the rest of the crew and county, and I can probably fall short with it. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, it's nice that hopefully some of those operating dollars can be put in the capital budget, which is clearly needed for equipment replacement down the road. So it'd be fantastic if we can save some money on operating this year through this new process. That's great. Thank you.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you, through Mayor Senes. Chief Chopping, just curious how that with the new call center and how it's working out. There are some road and street names that repeat between Lakefield and Peterborough. And I know that there were some initial call outs where I operated business on Burnham Street, and one day we had quite a heavy duty response on the street, but it was the wrong address because it was required in Peterborough on Burnham.
So 3 minute sense. Yeah. So in Selwyn, we're pretty good shape, but it's that kind of that overlapping when I say not even just with Peterborough, but say with Northumberland County. And there's still quite a few in Peterborough County alone that kind of overlap, but it's really a case it comes down to is the information coming from 911 if they're giving that right number. You know, they could say, say 911 Burnham Street. And they say, Peterborough instead of Lakeview. You know, it all depends on where that person, if that person's visiting or, you know, whatever. So it's not very often at all through the county, but it's mostly people visiting the area. Yeah, they may get mixed up what village or town they're in.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to human resources. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll go on to library services. Any questions? Just want to remind council and staff, we do have a Twilight Golf Tournament happening on August the 8th, and we're still looking for golfers. And we're trying to come up with the amount of money that we promised council we would fundraise. So any help you can provide in becoming a golfer or being part of the tournament, it would be appreciated. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. It's added a lot of extra work, hasn't it? Parks and Recreation. Questions, Councillor Boyko.
Through you, Mayor Sinis, I will be away and therefore not able to play golf, and that's everyone there will probably be grateful that I won't be golfing with them. Through you to Mike, I have operational changes to Lakefield Campground. We were asking, and we were talking several weeks ago about the engineering project with respect to the underground facilities that are needed and the work that is needed to be done. I wonder if you could update us on where things are with that. The new water and sewer and electrical work.
Through you, Madam Mayor. At this time, the tender has closed and results were tabulated. We're working through to make sure that we know what the finances look like. And we were looking at trying to have it for this council, today's council report, but it would have been a little too tight, making sure that everything was done. So because we only have one per month in the summer, it will go to the next
So
council.
come in August. Okay,
That's right.
thank you.
Councillor Koulis.
There you go. Thanks. Sorry, it's the same question I had for corporate in regards to the impact of Fleming programs potentially not running and how that may impact staff, like assistance of staff for doing efforts that we do.
Through you, Madam Mayor, similar to what Ange was saying, we will work with them, and because we really don't know which programs they may or may not cut. There's always been a fairly good two-way communication. And in some cases, you know, certainly through Parks and Recreation, it was items that were mutually beneficial, but not necessarily things that we were going to have to do. Some of the forest management, whether it happens this year or a couple of years down the road, it wasn't nearly as critical. So some of those projects were the mainstay of their forestry program or the forestry programs. We don't have a lot of projects planned with them right now. We have a couple little things finishing off at a small waterfront park and doing a little bit of trail work, but I don't think it'll have a significant effect on staffing because we would have been nice to work together, but a lot of what we do with them is them getting education out of it and helping, cutting it a little bit, but cutting our staff time a little bit, but really nothing significant on that.
Okay, thank you.
And just before I go to Deputy Mayor Black, I want to give kudos to you and staff for the first class jazz festival that you put on this weekend. It was fantastic. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you, through Mayor Sinis. Yeah, Mike, the presentation we had earlier talked about some concerns around maintenance of our township owned properties. I know we've hired an additional student this summer. Can you kind of give us an update on some of the things you're focusing on with that student or with your staff in general, with some of the concerns that were brought up there with the the Shamon Park and, the Marina property, those sort of things. Could you just give an update on the activity that's been going on there? Sounds like there's been a lot happening.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Getting the marina fully painted, we usually do touch-up paint and a little, but this is the first time in 9 years that we've done it from corner to corner, which has been really nice. Managing the gardens, we had decided that 2 of them were really kind of out of control. In front of the marina, that one we could continue to maintain, and it was in fairly good stead. So we did get a contractor there a couple days before the Jazz Festival, and had it all done, ready to go, reseeded, and certainly not taken, although with the way the weather is, it could be a couple inches high by the time we're done the meeting. Certainly getting a few of the gardens and whatnot. Shamong Park does need a little bit of work, but it's definitely having the summer student, which is helpful, but it's we have to give huge kudos to our Public Works Department, their ability and their knowledge to get stuff done, and partnering with us to make sure, they do some of our projects and not fall too far behind on their own work, has been invaluable.
Great. Thank you. Steps forward. That's fantastic.
Councillor Boyko.
Thank you. I have another question for Mike. I didn't want to ask 2 questions in a row.
Good to give your colleagues a chance.
There you go. With respect to capital and maintenance projects, Mike, the very last line in that category, 12 Bridge Street, this is the old post office. It says renovation complete, and on the other side, it says in progress. So maybe you could update us. Is work still being done, or is it done? And maybe part of that question could be, how are we doing we're 7 months into the year and we still don't seem to have a tenant. So what is happening to, any comment on finding a tenant for that building? So 2 questions in one.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm just taking a quick look to make sure I know what you're referring to. 12 Queen.
Yeah, 12 Bridge Street.
Yeah, 12, well, it should be 12 Queen.
Yeah. I assume that's the old post office. So we're talking about the new business center. It says renovation complete. And then over on the right-hand side, it says in progress. I'm just wondering, is there still renovations going on, or is it done, or?
There are a couple of small items being looked at, the elevator lockout and the fob access, or the wireless access to the building. So it probably shouldn't contradict itself like that. So my apologies.
Well,
I'll
just wondering.
But there are a couple of small things. I don't know. I don't think I'm the best one to respond to what the rental status is at this point in time.
I guess that's over.
Angie.
We expect good news in August. Stay tuned.
That's good news.
All right, so we'll move on now to Public Works. Are there any questions with regards to Public Works? See none. You got off easy, Adam. So we will now entertain a motion to accept the work plans. Councillor Boyko, Councillor Henry, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to Lane Vance with the second quarter financial report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just cover a report there, added a few comments, and just a reminder to council that these would be taken in conjunction with the Q1 financial statement report as well. No significant changes in any of the areas in terms of areas of concern. I've noted where we are at this point halfway through the year. And definitely our public works equipment expenses are higher than typical, but we had reported on that in Q1, some of our repairs and things like that. But other than that, I could respond to any council questions if they have any.
Are there any questions, Lane? Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you, Mayor Sennis. Thanks, Lane. Lots of detail in the report. I know I've asked in the past around some kind of summary or roll-up of income and expenses. It sounds like you populated most of the reserves in and out. All the taxation, income from taxation's been posted. So aside from more of a summary, which I feel would be more helpful to me, The taxation, the revenue from taxation that's posted, is that just based on the budget number, or is that real income that we receive from taxation? Then it's split by a portionality based on budgets. How do you post that number?
Yeah, that's you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it is based exactly on budget. So what council has approved, that goes into the billing. And then at the very end of the year, any supplemental taxation that we receive or write-offs, they flow through Department 5, through the general government.
So you just make an adjustment at the year end. So the taxation revenue is really budgeted revenue. So
That's correct.
it'll match up.
Yeah, and we always wait until the second quarter because we do our actual billing in June, and so
Yeah.
that's why it's booked at this point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I think we're on our fourth supplementary batch of the year, and so by the time I get to the third quarter, I'll be able to report a little bit more on that, just to see how we're coming along.
Clarifier to firm it up a little bit better for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I go back to more of a summary. I tried to read all 31 pages of this and understand most of it, but again, there's so many anomalies to the accounting system that you have to use, and the timing of inputs and all those sorts of things. It's really challenging when you look at it department by department versus, okay, here's overall revenue, here's overall expenses by department. The bottom line is expenses are at income's at 52% and expenses are at 48%. I feel good.
Yeah, right.
Overall, I can't get that from individual without me getting a calculator out and spending a lot of time doing so. I don't know if your software would allow you to create that report as a cover for the 30 pages, but that would be helpful, certainly.
Okay, yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, we definitely we've played with different versions of that. The second quarter one is always a little bit of a challenge to get it turned around in time to get back to the council meeting.
Okay.
But no, we are aware that a summarized version might be a little bit better for council to take a look at.
Great, appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm looking for someone to move the recommendation. So, Deputy Mayor Black, Councillor Koulis, all in favor? It's carried, thank you. And now, we are going to be talking about, the Peterborough County OPP Detachment Board. Janice.
Thank you. So I think as everybody will remember, with the changes to the Community Safety and Policing Act, we no longer have a Smith Ennismore Police Services Board. We will now be part of the Peterborough County OPP Detachment Board. So as a group, the municipalities and the two First Nations involved in that have been working to try and develop the terms of reference that will kind of frame the detachment board. A lot of what's included in the terms of reference really just outlines what's already in place through legislation and regulation. So there's certain things that are defined by the province, and we don't have the opportunity to make any changes there. But there are some other things where the municipalities and First Nation have some choice in terms of what their terms of reference look like. So that is what is being brought forward to you for your consideration. It is going to each of the municipalities and the two First Nations for approval from each council, and then hopefully we would have it in place and could start to move forward with the board. Once we're in a position to do so, I did note in here, the legislation did come in force April 1st, 2024. However, through the workings of the municipalities trying to get the boards going, there was an issue raised around insurance. There is a requirement to provide insurance for the board itself, and that is becoming quite a challenge to be able to provide. The insurers are basically just saying they can't provide that type of insurance across all of the parties that are involved, or it's very expensive. So the OAPSB, which is the Provincial Association for Police Services Boards, is actively working to try and find a solution to that on behalf of all the municipalities that this impacts. So we're a little bit on hold waiting for that to happen. They have recommended that the boards do not meet until we are able to provide the appropriate insurance that's required by legislation. So really, I did just provide a little bit of a list of the types of things that are covered in the terms of reference for you. So I would just leave it at that. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Of course, Tanya's been involved in pulling this together as well. So between the two of us, I'm sure we could try and answer your questions.
Okay, And Councillor Henry, you're part of this, correct? Okay, have you been involved in the terms of reference as well?
The terms of reference really have been pulled together at the staff level.
Okay,
To go back out to councils so that the board representatives and the councils would have the opportunity for feedback at that point.
okay.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sennis. With the challenges that the boards are facing as a whole, it's most advisable that any of the municipal members, self-included, kind of take a backseat at this point in time until insurance comes through. So not being insured, any decisions we make now could impact us in the future.
Okay.
Staff is doing the work in the first. See where we can get with it. Hopefully the province will step up and maybe ensure the changes that the board's notice.
Yeah, I've actually asked our MPP to look into it. He wasn't aware. And he hasn't got back to me yet, so I'm waiting. Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you, through your worship. Couple of questions, just on the document, with respect to community appointees. It says 3 members jointly appointed by each of the above municipalities and First Nations who are neither members of the council nor employees or any of them. I assume it's 3 in total, not 3 per municipality. Correct? I mean, that was.
Yeah, that's correct. So
So how-
the structure of the board is established by provincial regulation. We did have to submit a proposal back in 2021, I think it was, for what this detachment board would look like. And at that time, again, the 7 municipalities and the 2 First Nations worked together to come up with what that proposal would look like. All of the councils supported it and it was sent off to the province. So the 3 community members are, so the board is made up of the 7 municipal representatives, 2 First Nation council representatives, 3 provincial appointees, if they ever get appointed. We have 1. And then the 3 community representatives. So in the discussions, and as you'll see in the terms of reference, the community representatives aren't really intended to be representing a geographic area. We'll be looking for a different level of or a different type of expertise, finance, social services, education, governance, legal, healthcare, some sort of expertise that would be beneficial to the board's operations.
So it won't be a rotation, sure, follow up, but it won't be a rotational thing like the first 2 years. It's Asphodel, Curve Lake and Duro that.
No.
It we in general, okay.
Yeah, it would be for the term. So the term has been established to be the same as our council term.
Council term?
Yeah.
Okay. Follow-up question with respect to the bigger picture here, how will local issues filter into this bigger committee as far as things that, our municipality is a little bit different than the rest of Peterborough County and the First Nations because of our population and our built up areas and stuff like that. We'll have different needs, I think, in some cases than some of the more rural municipalities that are part of this. How will those get addressed in that 15-member committee, in particular if it's a local expense versus, are all these expenses going to be county-wide? Because not all the members of county are in. So how will the expenses be managed and decisions made that are more local decisions as opposed to broader decisions of the board?
Right. So what we have to remember is that each local municipality who's involved, and it's all 7 local municipalities, all the local municipalities other than Cavan-Monaghan. So it's 7 of us.
Right.
We all will still have our own contract for police services with the OPP, and we will pay for our police services directly through those contracts.
Okay.
The budget for this board will be just for the board operations, and they have a very limited scope of authority, what they can do. It's perhaps higher level discussions and advice around policing in general, their business plan, that sort of thing. It's a really good question how the local issues, and I think we'd say probably the biggest issue that our board dealt with was probably speeding.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not sure that this board is really going to want to deal with speeding issues all over the county. So those things may wind up just working their way back through council, ultimately through staff and back to council that way. But again, it really is a bit of a work in progress. So it's difficult to envision how that will work at the board.
Councillor Henry, would you like to weigh in?
Thank you, through Mayor Sines. Deputy Mayor Rod, yeah, I think our quarterly meetings are gonna go from an hour and a half in length to probably about 4 now.
Follow up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, again, that was just one of my, I'm not against the larger committee. I think it makes a lot of sense. But again, most of our time, my past experience is on the local issues and I think we've done a great job responding to those things here locally. And yeah, is staff gonna get stuck with dealing all with that moving forward? Because there won't be time to discuss 9 municipalities' issues around speeding unless you go to 6-hour meetings, maybe, right? Councillor.
Yeah, so
Henry
like broader strategies
proposed,
around,
we go to 6 hours.
sorry. Like broader strategies around how those types of concerns can be addressed by the detachment can probably be spoken to. But again, those detailed concerns about the 5th line or whatever road it is, I'm just not sure that the board will have the time to deal with those. The other really unique thing for us as well is we are the only municipality who still has the community policing.
Right.
And how they've always worked very well with our former police services board. So just not sure how that will fit with the new board or even if it will fit with the new board. So kind of figuring out how that relationship is going to work is going to be a little bit of time for us as well.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. What happens to our community policing volunteers? They've been active for years, really involved with our detachment commander and the force. And I would hate to see them get tossed to the curb. And I'm really unhappy to see that Road Watch is gone because it was a good system and it worked. And you know, we seem to be going in a direction that isn't necessarily better for the community at large as it relates to Selwyn. So I guess time will tell if this is a better direction or not, but from where I sit, looking out the windshield, it doesn't look too promising. So I'll try and keep my glass half full. Councillor Henry.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sines. There definitely is different concerns when it comes to community policing, especially in rural areas versus more urbanized areas. You know, all sarcasm aside, with the length of your meetings, it will allow certain areas of discussion that can focus on some of the elements that aren't always discussed. Yes, speeding is a main concern because it's something that is impacting our community and we see it on a regular basis. But there are other things that are going on within the county. And by all those forces working together, I think it might help us in some other areas to make some progress as well.
Okay. Right. We'll be ever hopeful. I'm looking for someone to move the recommendation that's before us. Councillor Henry, Councillor Koulis, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. And we have an update on Development Charges Act. Janice.
Yes, again, thank you. I think council members again will recall that we've had some more legislative change through Bill 185 that impacts our development charges bylaws that are in place. They were approved last year, right? Yeah, 2023. So this is just really to bring you up to speed on those changes and what that means to us. And there is one other matter that is outlined in here as well. So the first area of change is the inclusion of studies. So any growth-related studies are now again eligible to be costs in our development charges bylaw. So with this change, and because of the timelines when our bylaw was passed, there is a streamlined process that we are allowed to go through to get those costs calculated and incorporated into our development charge without going through a full background study and public meeting process. So we actually have 6-month time period to do that. And those changes would not be subject to any appeal. So currently we are working to get information pulled together, to get those relevant studies, the list, the timing, and the estimated costs off to our consultant, Watson and Associates, so that they can do the calculations to bring those items into the DC. We would expect hopefully that we're going to have another report for council back with that information in August, if not August, early September. Another good news story is the removal of the mandatory phase-in. So you might recall when we passed our bylaw, the legislation required that we phase the bylaw in over a 5-year period, 80%, 85, on and on until we got to 100% in 5 years' time. So that the 185 eliminated that requirement, and that actually came into effect immediately for our bylaw because our bylaw did not specifically refer to the phase-in. It just relied on the legislative piece. So all we really need to do is update our tariff of fees, and we can start collecting 100% of our bylaw or of our rate. The next change is related to the timeframes for the DC rate freeze. So if you made your planning application, then the DC you would ultimately be charged was frozen for a period of 2 years. So you essentially had a lesser rate potentially for that 2-year period from the time that your application was made to the time that you're actually in the ground. That time frame has been changed to 18 months. So it's been reduced by 6 months. For us to recognize this change, this piece is specifically referred to in our bylaw. So we do have to go through a background study and hold a public meeting in order to make this amendment. So we are recommending that we obtain a proposal from Watson and Associates to do that work for us, and then we would bring that back to council for consideration. Similar recommendation on the following piece, and that's related to park model trailer development. So just through some of the discussions that we've had and some other bylaws that we've seen, this has come up as an issue that we would like to consider under the bylaw. So in the development charges bylaw, it does establish that when there's a building permit required, that triggers the need to charge the development charge. With park model trailers, there is a building permit required. So they're very different than a mobile trailer. There's no building permit required for a mobile trailer, but for a park model trailer, there is. So that building permit then triggers the requirement for a development charge. Of course, a park model trailer currently isn't defined in our bylaw. Some other municipalities define them specifically and then establish an appropriate charge. They are different than your single family dwelling, but they also aren't the mobile trailer. So it's trying to figure out what the appropriate treatment for that type of development would be. Again, in this situation, we would need to complete a background study that would look at all of the options that are out there, provide that information to council, so that you would then be able to consider what the appropriate charge would be for that type of development. So again, we're recommending that as part of the work that Watson would do, we'd be requesting a proposal from them to provide the background study and go through the public meeting process for that component, as well as the rate freeze component of the bylaw.
Before I go to my colleagues, I have a question with regards to the park model thing. If we go through this process, what happens if one of the parks comes through with wanting to make an addition? I'm trying to figure out what the timeline would be, because it's going to take time to do the study, have to have a public meeting. And in the meantime, if somebody comes through looking for additional trailers, what happens there? Would they be caught up in this, or would they be, they wouldn't have to be subject to it?
So the development charge would apply at the time a building permit was issued.
Okay. Okay, so, okay. And we have a couple of park model trailer developments that are in the works in the township right now, correct?
Yeah, so this has kind of been an evolving sector over the last few years where most of the trailer camps we used to have definitely would have been trailers on wheels. Certainly Parkbridge has taken on a lot of the trailer camps in the township, and they do have more of a model that relies on the park model trailers. Grandview has gone through their planning approvals for a large expansion, and I believe their intention would be to, for the most part, be having park model trailers as well. So yeah, for sure, there are some, it's the way of the future with campgrounds, it seems.
Okay, and we've got another one that we haven't actually approved yet.
Yes, absolutely. Lovesick Lake, I believe their intention would be park model trailers as well.
Thank you. Get to know that.
Thank you, through your worship. This was top of mind, public meeting for me to ask some questions around the difference. There definitely is a difference, and I've had the pleasure of golfing at Belmere Winds, and of course, they've got a huge park trailer complex attached to that for their golfing packages and stuff like that. But it seems the separation between those units, and they're larger than typical RV trailers. They typically have 3 bedrooms in them and stuff like that. The one down there is built more like a subdivision, maybe not as, the lots aren't as big as our normal lots would be. But certainly, like right now, what I see with these park trailers, park model trailers, is they're as close together as removable trailers as far as our separation between units and that sort of thing. So with the development chart review, we also look at the bylaw with respect to how close they can be together. That sort of thing, because I think density is important, particularly on waterfront and so on. And I'm not sure they should be treated the same as a smaller pulled away trailer. They're permanent, they're cottage. And we wouldn't allow cottages to be that close together, particularly on waterfront properties. So is this review going to also include a review on the bylaws with respect to setbacks and between and that sort of thing?
This proposal that we'd get from Watson, no, it would not look at our zoning bylaw or our trailer park bylaw. It would really just focus on development charges. Those are good considerations though, in terms of what our other policies and provisions have in place. I don't recall how long ago we looked at those, the trailer park bylaw.
Through Mayor Senes, there is site-specific requirements in the zoning bylaw in the RC zone specifically for trailer lot sites. A lot of the existing trailer parks would be legal, applying or conforming. I'd have to reread which definition is which. So the trailer park expansions that we will see coming online will be subject to conforming to the requirements in the bylaw. I don't know what else.
Yeah, just follow this. So is that bylaw, that zoning, any different than trailer as opposed to a permanent? It's going on a foundation. These go on foundation. That's why they need a building permit, correct?
Well, they need a building permit because they are a building as classified in the Ontario Building Code, whereas your recreational travel trailers and such are, I think, would fall closer to the vehicle regulations.
MTO, yeah. So the most of them, sorry, again, I was trying to spend more time looking at it, but is there a foundation that has to be put in under these park model trailers? Is it like a permanent location?
So the Ontario, through you, Mayor Senes, the Ontario Building Code requires that they adhere to the manufacturer's instruction. They're certified under like CAN-CSA Z241, which is a classification ensuring that they meet certain requirements. But the anchorage and locating them on a property is subject to the approval of the manufacturer's installation instructions, which are covered off through the certification. So some of them require duckbill anchors or auger style anchors, and others just require dry stack blocking.
Yeah, I think there is a difference through Mayor.
For sure.
And, you know, the density does concern me. These are bigger typically than pulled trailers. And I think that density has an impact on the number of people that are going to be using that area and those sorts of things. So I
How-
think that needs to be part of the.
How
review.
does this of this review that we're talking about now, this is just to do with development charges? It won't.
And that's why I was asking the question, did it include the zoning with it? It doesn't.
It,
clearly.
it doesn't, no. So what
No.
Ian Watson would do would just be to look at the development charges component. of
That's
it.
all they
Yeah.
get involved in.
So are we going to look at the zoning along with it for new development?
We can certainly review what's in our zoning bylaw and have a look at that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
But it won't be part of
No,
this.
no,
No,
I
it-
get that.
no,
I just,
it would
I
be
want to be clear
yes,
that that wasn't
yeah,
part of that,
Would
but
be separate and apart from
yeah,
the development charges piece. Yeah.
thank you.
All right, are there any other questions with regards to the report? If not, I'm looking for someone to move the recommendations before us. Councillor Boyko and Councillor Henry, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. Are there any consent items that council would like pulled? If not, if I can have someone move the consent items that are in front of us, Councillor Henry and Councillor Koulis, all in favor? All in favor? Carried.
No, that's okay.
Any other new and unfinished business? That's right.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Senes. Between now and our next council meeting in August, Chief Gord Joplin and his wife will be celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary. And I wasn't going to bring that up. But on behalf of council and township staff, congratulations. Your commitment to your family, your children, your grandchildren, and all the other kids that were running around that aren't yours that you took care of. Well done.
Councillor Boyko.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Senes. I just want to talk about something that happened last weekend, and that was the Jazz and Art Festival in Lakefield. And the Jazz Art and Craft Festival has been going on for quite some time, and it was a booming success. And I want to thank the committee that was involved, Al Grant and Dave Inglis, Ed Barber, Gail Grant, and Vern Hope. And I also want to bring special attention to Curtis Cronk, right, who part of the township staff who joined the committee, and Mike Richardson and Amy Stevenson, who worked tirelessly, not only in planning all year, but during the day with a number of other township staff. So congratulate Amy upstairs, and congratulate Mike in public for the hard work. This coming weekend is the Lakefield Literary Festival, and involved with that is an all volunteer board, and also Casey Gardner of the Lakefield Library, who, while the Lakefield Literary Festival pays for the expenses, it is Casey and her staff who put together the children's tent that is in downtown Lakefield on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. So congratulations to all of the volunteers, the Literary Festival. And I don't know whether Councillor Koulis, you want to talk about another festival that's happening next Saturday.
Councillor Koulis.
3 days to be exact.
Yeah. Beginning.
So beginning on Friday, we have a dance at 7:30, $10 per ticket ahead of time, and it's at the Quarry. There's a number of locations who are supporting us in selling these tickets, including the Quarry, Home Hardware in Bridge North, Buns and Sweets in Bridge North, Shamong Lodge in Bridge North, Sullivan's General Store in Ennismore, and Jesse's Tap and Grill in Ennismore. And then on Saturday morning, we have the Shamrock Festival kickoff for the family day that's free. And we've got MPP Dave Smith starting with his breakfast, pancake breakfast that's free. It's at 8:30. And I suggest we go down there and talk to him about the OPP detachment board things. He's going to be preoccupied. The Ennismore Curling Club is going to have their shindig going on. I highly encourage you to go and see that. They've got street curling. The library here is going to have a book sale. The Optimist Club is going to have a barbecue, and we've got sports going on for the Optimist Club, soccer and ball hockey. There's a petting zoo, bouncing castles. It's going to be great. Sundays are truck and tractor pull. It's at 12 p.m. start. It's $10, and if you're 12 and under, it's free. There's a bar and a barbecue there too. Those require cash, and we will have tap and interact there for those. otherwise cash for getting in the gate. And there's also a craft show at the arena that day too on Sunday. It's $2 entrance fee. And I just want to note that we have a 50-50 tickets that we're doing a draw each day this year. This is new for us. And so half the proceeds are going to go to the Shamrock Festival and the other half are going to go back to the Optimist Accessible Playground that Nancy here was promoting. So please come out and support us. We'd love to see you. And then a big thanks to Londa Junkin, Richard Northey, Vince Young, and Amy and Mike, because we put so much into this and there's more to do, but thanks ahead of time.
So, good. Yes, Adam.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. I hope you can just indulge me for a second. I wanted to speak to Councillor Coulis's comment earlier about Fleming College closing some of their programs. So it may not impact all the departments, but it definitely will have an impact on our public works department. When you get looking at some of the courses that they're closing, you look at the environmental tech programs, the fish and wildlife, the GIS, their heavy equipment course, they're looking to suspend, urban forestry, waste resource management. These are all fundamental courses in the public works department. We rely through our sustainability coordinator, Lily. She's partnered with Fleming College before to do our waste audits at the landfill. So that's a partnership now that we'll lose. We'll have to look for alternative funding sources for that report. For water and sewer specifically too, I know I'm an ET grad from way back in 2009. At that time, Fleming College and Lindsay was the first college to offer ministry recognized water and wastewater training. And it really kind of got your foot in the door as a water and sewer operator to be able to step foot in a plant that provided that technical training as well as the ministry recognized licensing to get in there. So I think although we may not see an impact like right now, in the years to come, we're definitely going to see an impact. And when you look at the list of 29 courses that they're closing, it's really ripping the heart out of the cross campus. So yeah, it's definitely going to have an impact. And, you know, it's troubling to see.
Thank you. All right, we have bylaws, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, we've got two bylaws, 40, the zoning bylaw amendment for 42 Caroline, and 41 to appoint Mitchell Hines as a building and plumbing inspector.
So I'd love to have a motion, Councillor Henry, Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor, that's carried, and confirming bylaw. Councillor Boyko. Councillor Coulis, all in favor, that's carried, and motion to adjourn, Councillor Henry and Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor, that's carried. Thank you.